Hi there. We're today going to do a cat sequence. So all of these postures are modifications that you can play with and find which ones suit you and which ones don't. And they're all based on Marjarasana or cat pose. So before we go any further, first thing you need to come to terms with is that if you've ever had a cat, you will know that they don't do anything that they don't like. So if you could be a little bit more cat and try and apply that principle to the whole of the following suggested adaptations. So let's start then. Again, you may want to, at this early stage, modify your mat. And so a couple of simple modifications that you can do would be to, first of all, roll up the mat, maybe double up the mat just a couple of times, just so that you've got a little hump over which you can rest more comfortably if your hands are very tight and you find it uncomfortable to have your hands completely flat. The other thing you might want to do is to put a rolled up blanket or a small pillow underneath the fronts of your feet. And again, this would be a good idea for those of you who find it difficult or uncomfortable to have your feet flexed and turned away. So it is useful to have something underneath the feet so the feet can just press down. Okay, so let's think about distributing the weight then. So starting by kneading your hands into the ground. This is kneading cat. And so kneading, I'm using that term kneading to be moving your weight. So you're pressing different parts. I'm moving my shoulders. The more side to side you move those shoulders, the more weight moves into and out of one hand. The more you move your weight backwards and forwards, the more the weight moves into and out of both hands. So have a play with it. You can make whatever kind of movements you make, whether they be figures of eights or circles or similar, or just simply rocking back and forward. Just exploring your hands. And then think about the stretching of the fingers. So you're trying to lengthen the fingers, pressing each and every knuckle into the mat. And if you can, spread the weight all the way up along the finger bones to the fingertips, so that you're using your hands actively and you're sharing the weight around your hands. Not all of the weight from your hands is in the heels of the wrists. And then whenever you need to, we can take the weight out of the hands, stretch your tailbone, draw the navel back towards the spine, and allow the hips to settle. And again, if you can't reach your hips with or your heels with your hips, you might consider, again, modifying Balasana or child pose by having something underneath your hips. And then elbows down, head down. And whether or not you have your hands in front of you or behind you in Balasana, perhaps you could let go of the floor with the hands, just simply roll them palms up and give your fingers a bit of a stretch. Okay, so kneading cat there. Kneading cat, really useful for strengthening the hands. Once your hands have had a rest, coming back up to all fours. Again, try if you notice your head tends to hang, draw the chin back to the throat, reach the shoulders down away from the ears, and then be actively pressing those hands as if you're pressing the floor away from you. Steady the weight so it's spreading evenly through the hands all the way down to the tips of the fingers. even harder if, or even stronger if, you press down with the knees. And even more if you press down with the fronts of your feet. If you're tempted to move the weight out of your hands, then don't go any further. But if your hands are comfortable, no shaky arms or elbows, you can press a little further and lift the knees away from the ground into pouncing cat. Again, you can feel every muscle down the front body, whether or not you've lifted the knees. And then coming down, moving the weight back, lifting and rolling the wrists. So kneading cat and pouncing cat, really good preparatory exercises for supporting your upper body weight in the hands. Back to neutral, back to all fours. This time, on the exhale, chin to the throat, navel to the spine, tuck your tailbone under, lift the inner thighs. Hold the stretch as you breathe in. Exhaling, lifting the inner thighs, navel to the spine, chin to the throat. Stop and breathe in. Maybe one more breath. Press down with everything that's on the floor, reaching the back of the body up towards the ceiling. So you only really reach the peak of the stretch at the peak of the breath. Start to release, coming back to neutral. We're going to go into Bittilasana now, cow stretch. So next breath in, draw the shoulders back, maybe press the chest forward as you tilt your tailbone up towards the ceiling. Chest moving forward, belly moving outwards as you inhale. Pressing down with the fronts of the feet, the hands, all the way down to the fingertips. Keeping the neck long. Some of you might instinctively want to reach forward with your chin. So every inhale, the front body is stretching. Navel to spine on the exhale. Again, only coming to the deepest part of the stretch at the peak of the breath. And so pleasing yourself, as any self-respecting cat would, taking a few breaths here. Maybe you'll find that you're slinking along the spine from cat to cow pose on the breath. Maybe you're taking things more slowly. Maybe you're moving your weight backwards and forwards, taking the weight into and out of the hands. We're intending to find our comfortable and steady version of cat stretch right here, right now. So if you wanted to avoid one area or make the movement smoother so you're just focusing on a small part of the spine, it doesn't matter. Pleasing yourself. And again, any sign of discomfort, any complaining from the hands or the wrists, simply take the weight out of your hands, settle into the comfortable version of Balasana or Child Pose, let go of the floor. Any kind of movements you want with your hands, your fingers to restore, release and relax any fatigue in the hands and the wrists. So starting again from our cat-cow combo, starting in that neutral position, Hands actively spreading the weight to the fingertips, pressing down with the tops of the feet, inhaling, pressing the chest forward using the muscles in the back. Exhale, lift the navel up away from the floor towards the spine. So inhaling, slink through the spine, pressing the chest forward and stretching the front body, and exhaling, using the whole of that out breath to lift the belly, the inner thighs, and the navel to the spine. So once your hands are completely comfortable with carrying the weight of the shoulders, we can start to make this a little bit more of a stretch. So next time you are exhaling, slide the left knee forward and bring the knee towards the nose. As you inhale, stretch back with the left foot. Exhaling, bring the knee forward, nose towards the knee. Inhale into cat with the tail. Try not to lift that leg with the hip. Try and keep those hips the same height from the floor. So exhaling, knee forward, inhaling, stretch back. Notice that now we've lifted the left leg, the left hand is having to work slightly harder. So if your left arm is struggling, then don't take this any further. Those of you who can, next time you stretch your left leg back, stretch forward with the right arm. Exhale, bring the knee closer to the elbow. Inhale, right hand forward, left leg back. Exhale, lift the belly, elbow to knee. One more time. And then put that right hand down on the floor, place the left foot behind the right foot, and then we're going to pivot. So maybe repark that right knee so your foot is behind. And then think about the alignment of your right hand, your right knee and your left foot. Let go of the floor. Park that right arm above the wrist, above your handprint. Spread the weight all across the palm. We're coming into a one-arm balance. Left arm is redundant, put it behind the back. And then use the muscles in the left leg to press that foot into the floor, lifting the left hip. Use the muscles in the back to press that chest forward, opening up the chest. If you want, you could lift your arm up towards the ceiling, using the muscles in the back. Press that right shoulder blade forward towards the spine to open the chest. Let's take a breath here. Feel that peak of the stretch. Open up the side body. And then when you're ready, and maybe your right hand is starting to complain, let's go back, both hands to the floor. Maybe another slink through the spine. And back down to child pose for a rest. Again, if your head doesn't reach the ground, maybe put something underneath your head, arms dropping, elbows resting. Move the fingers, wrists if you need to. Okay, so let's do that again on the other side. You don't have to turn round. So we begin this sequence with cat, cow pose, Marjarasana and Virtilasana. Find your steady. Every time you breathe out, you're lifting and arching the spine. Every time you breathe in, you're pressing the chest forward, shoulders away from the ears. Okay, this time we're going to lift the right knee. So if you don't want to work any harder, you can stay right where you are. Those of you who do, The next time you're exhaling, slide that right foot forward, nose to the knee. Inhale, stretch back into cat with a tail. Careful not to lift the leg with the hip. Try and keep the pelvis from rotating so your belly looks towards the floor and you're using the muscles in the back to lift and extend that leg. If your right hand is complaining, then keep your left hand on the floor. If not, the next time you're breathing in and stretching back with the right leg, stretch forward with your left hand. Lift the belly, elbow to knee on the exhale. Inhale. Into the balance. Exhale, elbow to knee. Let's do this one more time. Inhale. You can hold the balance if you want to. Keep lifting the belly, pressing the weight even into the hands. And then left hand to the floor, right foot behind the left foot, pivot on the left knee, and then just take a second just to get your foot, your knee, and your left hand in alignment. Parking the left shoulder above the left hand, using your left hand effectively, so weight spread across all the fingers. Right hand behind the back. Park your right foot, press it into the floor, lifting the right hip, and then using the muscles behind the back to press that left shoulder blade forward, open up the chest. Maybe lifting that right arm. But again, everything that's pressing down into the floor, balancing the weight, so the top of the foot, the hand, the sole of the right foot, and the muscles in the back are opening the front body every time you breathe in. Navel to spine on the exhale. Really press that left shoulder blade forward towards the spine. And then arm down, eyes down, back to your cat stretch. Get your breath back. Let's take the knees wide this time and come into wide-kneed Balasana. Head down again, consider something comfy underneath the forehead. If your head doesn't drop to the floor, maybe wiggle your elbows forward, bring your palms together. Again, just gently pressing, and then maybe you can lift your hands and park your thumbs on the back of the neck. Again, some reparking of the elbows might be called for here. I'm just going to breathe into that stretch, feel that stretch all across the edges of the armpits and the back of the neck as you're breathing in and out. Relax the feet, heavy with the tailbone. Feeling the effects of those cat variations on the movement in the breath in the back of your body. And whenever you are ready, you can lower your hands to the floor if you lifted them, parking your weight on the elbows, lifting the head, and then very slowly back up to Virasana. Thank you very much for joining me.